Good morning. I just got done shooting with Tyler from Cargo District Studios. I said it right that time. Every time I learn a new business, because I never actually prepare, I always forget the name, but Tyler is awesome. He's going to teach everybody that watches until the end how to start their own podcast for free. It's ridiculous. I gave out some incredible marketing tips that I've learned over the last couple of years, so you should watch that. That's probably in the first couple minutes. You definitely want to watch that. But what he is dropping, the knowledge on the podcast, he has been DJing for like probably 30 years, it seems like, because he has so much knowledge. You got to watch this. Good morning. It's Saturday morning at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Got Tyler from Cargo District Recording Studios on with us. Excited to have you, man.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing me on. I have my own podcast, so it's different, and grateful to be on the other side of the microphone today.
I know, right? I was like, I took a small video this morning. Cody, who's sitting over there, we'll call him the producer today because he really looks like a producer right now.
Like
he's got everything on. He's running the mic. He's got he's got everything. He's my right hand guy. But he said, Matt, you got to get more comfortable just shooting your being on camera all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And so I just shot him a video, and he's like, that was perfect. And I said, hey, I've been up since 4. I'm doing a podcast with the podcast, talking about a podcast, about my podcast in his podcast studio. And I was like, I wonder how many times I can say podcast in one sentence for people to still understand what's going on. But super happy to be here, man. I'm really excited to do it with you because, one, you were a referral from a couple people.
Oh, thanks.
But 2, your co-host, Chris, also works on my watches. And so
that's awesome.
I sent off a watch, and then I met you. You're like, yeah, my co-host. And I was like, and then we left, and Cody was like, you know, the guy that is the co-host for the studio is also the guy that we met at the jeweler store. And I'm like, no, that's kind of crazy. And what I've been, afforded to do in my life and realize, and I'm trying to teach other people how to do, is to realize how small the world is.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, how many times those little logos or signs that are in your life that I was like, wow, how did that happen?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I went and played pool, do you know what APA pool is? Like league pool?
No.
It's where people really take pool seriously.
Okay.
I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm pretty decent at pool, but when it came to playing with those people, out of my league. But the guy that was the captain for the team that I'm going to be on sold the company I work for a brand new $2 million printer.
Oh, wow, yeah.
He walked up and he's like, oh, you work for so-and-so? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, we just sold him a printer. And I was like, you know so-and-so and so-and-so? And I was like, how small is the world that the captain for my pool team is the guy that just sold us a $2 million printer, and he works for American Airlines to get free flights, because if you just sling a couple boxes every once in a while, he gets free flights. And I'm like, how small is this world?
That's amazing.
And when you realize that in the small business world, it's so crazy how involved Wilmington is, but how small the small business community is.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's hard to explain. It's almost like a brotherhood or something like that, where it's just like everybody knows each other, but it's also sometimes we're scared to give out business.
Right.
Because you're worried that you want the business for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But what I try to teach people is give before you get.
Yep.
And it's crazy what happens after that. So the value that, I'm trying to, make sure that the team knows is like, we're going to do what's called a private jet experience when someone comes on board with us. Like, I want them to be like, I'm getting all this, and it doesn't even cost me anything for 30 days. Like, what in the world is going on? And I want to make them more than whatever they're going to pay the 30 days after that.
Absolutely.
And they're like, this is too much, And then when you give so much value, and then you ask for referrals, it's crazy what happens.
Oh, certainly.
And then when someone, and I wanted to give you this tip. When I first started doing this, I looked up Podcast Studio Wilmington.
Oh, yeah.
You want to know who came up?
Who's that?
Not you.
I know that.
Not you.
Yeah.
And so my tip for you would be, every person that you talk to, either you've interviewed them or something during the podcast, after the podcast, before the podcast, try to get a Google review.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Google is going to rank you higher if you have more Google reviews.
Okay.
That's tip numero uno.
I always just thought that was something that like the corporate people just said.
No.
No.
Okay. Oh, it's something the corporate people say. But also because
it gets you higher.
Because it gets you higher, right? So like I'll put an example, and I say this all the time. There's 2 Chinese restaurants down the street.
Yeah.
One of them has 5-star review, but they have 10 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And the other has 3,000 reviews, but it's a 4.97. Which one do you go to?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, the one with more reviews.
The one with more reviews, 4.97 versus 5. Well, I'm going to go to the one that's got more trust behind it because more people have taken the time to do it. And then, then here's another tip for anybody that's watching or you. I want you to go to answerthepublic.com.
Okay.
Okay. Answerthepublic.com is going to show people what they're searching on YouTube, what they're searching on Instagram, what they're searching on Google.
Oh, wow.
You type in 2 things, podcast Wilmington. That's it. What'll pop up is a graph of what people are searching with podcast Wilmington.
Okay.
And then you can answer those questions through Google, through YouTube. And there might not be a whole lot of searches, but if you're the one answering those questions on a blog or on a video on YouTube,
right,
you're going to be the highest rated person because Google's forcing you. You're the only one answering the questions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's great.
You know what I mean? So like, it could be for any business. It could be, you try to keep it to 2 words if possible, but like any business, vegan restaurant Wilmington. People are going to go, what is the best vegan restaurant in Wilmington? You want to answer those questions, or like, what is vegan? Like, what are some vegan restaurants? And you could be the one posting about other vegan restaurants, but you put yours in there.
Right.
But they're looking at you and going, who wrote this? And then you're the source of truth. So, you know what you're doing, obviously. You got the right setup. We're in headphone land. Like Heather's listening in. She's like freaking out. She took a couple selfies over there. It's funny watching her from one side. She's like doing this. She had a puffer face, whatever you call it. I learned about that stuff. We'll edit that out. Don't worry about that, Heather. Right. She's trying not to laugh. But it's so much fun doing this, and you could teach people how to get their name out there using podcasting. Podcasting is huge. It's been huge for 7-10 years now.
Yeah.
And people want to start a podcast, but they don't know what the first step is. And what's great about you is you make it super easy.
We try our best. That was one of the main things when we wanted to start our podcast. We didn't really know what to do or how to do it. And we know a lot of people out there who always say, there's always that bar conversation, whiskey and wisdom, right?
Yeah.
Is like, oh, this would be great on a podcast. Or I have this wisdom I want to share on a podcast, but I don't know where to get started. Mm-hmm. So we had already done it. So we were the ones that know, hey, if you come in here and you have an idea, we'll get you up and running. We can show you that step 1 through 15 to get you ready to roll.
Yeah, not only that, but you guys are great because you're saying, okay, we have everything that you need, and it's an affordable price. I don't even remember your prices, but I was just like, yeah, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
All right, it was like $35 an hour or something like that. And you're like, okay, if you need more of our equipment, it's only a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's not crazy, but it's just a little bit more. If you need editing, it's just a little bit more. It's not crazy. It's just a little bit more.
Yeah.
And doing it that way is such an easy barrier to entry.
Yep.
I said, oh, okay, sign us up for 2 hours, blah, blah, blah. Let's get this going. And is everything perfect the way that we want it today? No. But you just told me, hey, next time that you're here, let's make sure that we get it set up the way you want. And then every time you're here, we'll set it up before you get here so we can come in, shoot, boom, done, out the door.
Yeah. And
having someone like that in a corner when they're trying to get their name out there through their podcast is huge. And I'm telling you, it's a great idea because I'm going to be teaching people to do podcasts. And so, and we're starting in Wilmington, so I'm going to be pushing a lot of people to you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm going to be telling people about you and your service. But if you don't ask for reviews, one day if we're somewhere else and I can't bring everybody from Texas and all that other stuff, they're not going to fly into Wilmington just to do it with you. But like, I want you to be one of the #1 podcast studios in Wilmington. There's a few.
Yep.
But I want you and I need you to start taking steps to do that. And I'll teach you how to do it, but I won't do it for you.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. That's all we need is the direction. Right?
Yeah. I'll tell you the direction. I'll show you how to run an ad. I mean, when it comes to social media and doing stuff on Reels and stuff like that, I mean, the guy behind the camera over there, Cody, he's the world record holder of kombucha chugging.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy to me that he does that stuff, but he knows the trends. He knows social medias. And I was having like a real conversation with him the other day, and he was just like, you got to listen to me, man. And I was like, okay, just tell me what to do. Right. And so now we have a plan, like Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. He's going to wake up at 5 and come meet me to walk with me and my friend at 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And he's going to get video content of me just walking, because it's going to look better than every podcast you do because it's not staged. It's more authentic. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, I don't mind doing that, dude. He's like, I just need to know that you want to do it.
Right.
And I'm telling you, you need to do it. And I'm like, okay, fine, let's do it. So he set up a plan. And you need people like that in your life that tell you what to do, that know what they're doing. Because as a business owner, you don't know until you've screwed it up enough to figure it out, or you've paid for it. Exactly. But if someone is giving you good, solid advice that you know is good advice, and you don't do it, it's like, one, you wasted their time, but two, you're wasting your own time trying to do their own thing. And like, I know too, and I know a little bit about why you decided to make your podcast.
Yeah.
But like, you still do something else on the side.
Yeah.
Like, in a dream world, would you only do podcast studio and do podcast? Like, or do you like doing both, you know?
Yeah, I do like doing both, to be honest with you. Yeah, I like having this on the side because it's a different type of creativity that I can express, and a different outlet that I can use. But yeah, the main gig that I have, I love doing that too. And that's really where my passion started. And I was actually a DJ for 10 years in high school and college and everything too, which is where the audio and video came in.
So did you do it for your school or something like that?
I eventually became the DJ for the school, yeah. And then I went to UNCW, and I did quite a few like different events for UNCW and different frat parties, of course.
Dude, that's so sick. Did you spin, or did you just do, like, how does that, like,
more digital?
Yeah.
But we still had there were digital turntables, I was still mixing and everything like that too.
Yeah, I sometimes tell my parents I'm going to DJ, and I just go on Spotify and look at songs that get white people lit, and it's like 3,000 songs of like what people go crazy for, like, you know, Don't Stop Believing by Journey, like all that stuff. And people just, like, every new song comes on, they're like, oh my God, I love this song. And so, like, I did it for New Year's party, and I was just like, oh yeah, I'm going to totally DJ this thing. I was like, click, and done. And they're like, you crushed it, bro.
Like, perfect.
Yeah, perfect. Got it. But this level of stuff, you know, real podcasting, like equipment, like XLR cables and mics and, you know, different sounds. Like, we're going to start friends, you know? That's like, there's like so many little cool things that you can do with this machine. But as a new business owner, people don't want to invest into the machine. But what you do is you teach people how to use the equipment. I came in here and you didn't do it for me. You helped me along the way, but you said, you got to do this. You got to do this. And so I started learning how to play with this thing, even though I knew a little bit, but to someone that didn't, if Heather came in here, you would do the same thing for her. And she would learn how to use this. And then she'd go, well, how much does this cost? And you tell her. And then over time, as her business grew, she'd go, can you teach me how to create my own podcast? Of course. Right. Because the best business owner in my mind is someone that doesn't say, you know, you're going to be a client of mine forever.
Exactly.
I need to graduate you to not use my services because I want you to be fully independent. Because when you're fully independent, then other companies will try to buy you, private equity. And the real point of a business is to grow it and sell it.
Exactly.
I don't care what anybody told you. When you can sell your business for millions of dollars, people are going to want to sell.
Exactly.
But you have to be completely independent in what you're doing. And again, what I want to help you at is teaching you how to rank higher on Google, teaching you those Google reviews. And I want to teach you a little bit about ads.
Yeah.
because I asked you when I first talked with you, what are you doing for marketing now? And what are you doing for marketing now?
Literally just Facebook and Instagram, using the free advertising that we can do, pushing it out that way. But yeah, when it comes to actual ads through Instagram or Facebook or Google, yeah, we're not doing really any of that right now.
Are you in any of the groups in Wilmington?
A couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seemed to make sense. More like the small business owner type of groups and stuff.
Not
like
even
that.
small business owner.
Okay.
Right. Because people are small business owners, right?
That's true. Yeah.
And I was talking to Cody about this morning, like those groups where a bunch of small business owners go to each other. They're all trying to get the other small business owners to pay for their services, but they don't want to pay for the other person's services. So like, how do I do this before I, you know what I mean?
Right.
If you scratch my back, I'm gonna scratch yours. But in reality, like most people want to become small business owners. They're just a little worried of the cost.
Yeah.
And if you can show them, hey, I want to teach people how to run their own podcast. If you had a good podcast idea, you should reach out to me.
Oh yeah.
You should come and interview, like come talk to me in my studio, right? And then get people to sign up through a form, and you'll have thousands, you'll have hundreds of people saying they want to start their own podcast. Tell me your idea. You find the ones that you want to work with, you bring them in and talk to them, and then go, what do you think? They're like, oh, I really want to do this. I really like the vibe of this place. I love this. And you go, okay, well, here's the prices. And they go, done. And you can just sign them up right there.
That's a good idea.
You know what I mean? Like you just go like, but don't do it with small business owners. Do it with people that want to become small business owners. And the way to become a small business owner is to start.
Right.
And you've also started your own business, and you can teach people, you know, what it takes. You got to get your EIN. You got to get your LLC. You got to get your business bank account. You got to get a Duns and Bradstreet number. Yep. You got to do all those things, right?
Exactly.
And those are daunting for people, but you've done it.
Yep.
And you can teach people how to start with something small and then grow.
Yeah.
But that's how I think you would get more business of people that would want to do, you know, start their own podcast, because everybody has dreams of it.
Right.
But when, you know, even me a little bit, when I told my best friend Ryan, who is more of a producer, like I want the best mics, I want this, that, and third. And he sent it to me, and I spent like $8,000 on equipment and a Rodecaster 2 and Shure mics. So I was just like, it's going to work. Like, it's just better work. You know what I mean? But you can make it to where people can start something, and you can just get them to start. The hardest part for people to do is just to start.
Yeah, you got that right. That's the one thing we've noticed too. Even just the few conversations I've had with mostly out in the community, not bringing them in yet. They're like, I would love to, but I don't know how. And that's always the first step. And that was one of the main reasons why we started this too, is to help kind of break that barrier to the first step. Because as soon as you take that first one, you already have the momentum for the second. Yeah. And hopefully we keep on going after that.
Well, what's the next step, right? So I know the next step, right? But for those that are watching, you know, that might want to start their own podcast.
Yeah.
What is the next step? Okay, I'm a dog chasing cars. I recorded a podcast. I got it. What next?
Yeah. So as soon as you have your first podcast recorded, what I would recommend is one of the best ways, in my personal opinion, to get your voice and your podcast out to everyone. I highly recommend Buzzsprout.
Okay.
That's who we use. It costs a little bit more than some of other ones out there, but everything you get for it is well worth the price. So as soon as you take the step to go in, make yourself a Buzzsprout account, upload that, and then just take the time to actually fill out everything on the Buzzsprout.
Sure.
There's quite a few people that get on there, like, don't pay for something if you're not going to do it, right?
Right.
And so they'll go on, they'll throw it up there, but they don't give themselves a logo. They don't put in the different titles. They don't go in and use the full value that Buzzsprout is offering for you. And just make sure you take the time, set it up properly, and it'll pay dividends in the long run. It's telling you where your listeners are coming from, who your listeners are, what different ways to market yourself, ways to get ads coming into you. So it's well worth it. I'd say Buzzsprout would be a good second step after you have it recorded.
Would you be open to, I mean, telling somebody about Buzzsprout is one thing, but let's say a business owner came in here, like myself, did a podcast with you, and I say, okay, Heather, we're going to do Buzzsprout. She's listening in, so she's, you know, hopefully she wrote that down. Now she's writing it down.
Right.
But, we're going to do Buzzsprout. If it's your recommendation, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 every single time. But would you even go as far as, I have Heather who can probably figure it out. Let's say someone didn't have they're solo dolo, undo anything.
Yep.
Would you take the time to help them set up their Buzzsprout account?
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like, to me, that level of service is what makes you go above and beyond.
Oh,
Does
yeah.
that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. We've done it with other podcasts as well, too, in the area. We've actually sat down, we went through it and helped them get it set up for them.
Yeah.
So that way they know what to do next. And there was even a podcast that we work with that we just do everything for them.
Yeah.
So, and of course that's a different package. I can't do all of that for free all the time indefinitely.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But like just to come in and show you how to set it up and show you what to do next. Yeah, absolutely. I'll do that all day long. And if you said, hey, you know what? I have more money than time. You just do it.
Exactly.
Then absolutely. We can do that too.
Exactly. And it's like, I try to teach people that are, maybe yourself, like you could go somewhere like, okay, hey, we're going to do a simple way, a guide to creating your own podcast. One, record.
Right.
Two, this, but inside of the Buzzsprout, it's like, here's the checklist. You got to do all those things. And so when they mark off all their checklist, they're done.
Yeah.
Makes sense. But then you show them the checklist and like, that's a lot. Can you just do it for me? And it's like, if you want it done for you at the end, it's like $600.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's, okay, podcast costs this much, Buzzsprout costs this much. It will cost you a total of $322, but for a total of $600, we'll do everything for you.
Right.
Or I don't know what the prices are,
right,
but
yeah.
It's showing people how to do it, and then them realizing that their time is more valuable doing something else because they're not as good as you are. You provide the value, you provide the service, and people are willing to always pay for good service 100 times out of 100. Like, I would rather spend a little bit more money and get the treatment,
right,
so to speak, and have a great feeling of what I just did, where I don't leave and I'm like, I'm a little bit worried about all the money I just spent. I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm like, oh, this is really going to work because I got this, and this, and I go home to my wife and I'm like, it only cost me this much and I got all these different things. And then imagine I leave, right? This is the next level. Imagine I leave. You set it up on the CRM.
Yeah.
And you know what a CRM is?
Yeah.
I talked a little bit about it.
Yeah.
So customer relationship management. But we set it up on a calendar. Imagine you did it on the CRM. And then when we left, 1 hour after we left, and I'm home with my wife or I'm going to do whatever, and I got a text message, and it goes, hey, it's Tyler. Really enjoyed the podcast I did with you. Would you mind leaving me a Google review? And it automatically sends your Google review link. There's a pretty high chance I'm going to do it.
True.
Right after I just got the service from you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So it's like, that's what I'm trying to teach business owners how to do, is like how to get those while the iron's hot.
Right.
And how to, get it coming in to where if me and you were emailing back and forth, but let's say that I wanted to do something ASAP.
Yeah.
And some people, like, when they're ready to go, they're ready to go, right?
Right.
Like, especially when it comes to people's money, that, right?
Yep.
But if you're not on top of it, they're just going to go to somebody else because there's thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that'll do the same thing for them.
Exactly.
But if people are ready and they're emailing you, let's say it took you 3 hours to email me back. I'd be like, does Tyler not want to do this with me? Heather, let's find somebody else. Let's go somewhere else to do a podcast. And then you like lost the opportunity.
Yeah.
So like that CRM, that customer relationship management, it's all the text messages, all the emails, everything's recorded. And then you and Chris can both manage it from your phone.
Right.
And then you can set up workflows and automations that will not only send that text message after, but it'll send a text message before saying, hey, your podcast is coming up in an hour. Hey, your podcast is coming up in 10 minutes. Did you want coffee or something like that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, man, this guy's like on top of it. Like he always, but it does it for every single client or every single appointment that you have. Yeah. It's crazy what you can get done with it. Plus, here's the best part. It does your Google reviews inside of there. It does your Instagram. It does your Facebook. It does your TikTok. It does your Twitter. You can plan out all of your social media 2 months in advance where it's posting for you.
Is there a CRM that you like that you're willing to say live that you recommend?
Oh, yeah, no. The one I use is Go High Level.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the one I use is Go High Level. And this is for everybody that's watching. Go High Level is, I've been using it for 6 years, 5 years, whatever it is. I learned how to use, I felt like I was in a room for 6 months with saltine crackers learning how to use it. But I've been getting better at it and better at it and better at it and better at it. It's $97 a month, $197 a month, or $297 a month. Okay. You get a 14-day free trial from Go High Level, and it does all the things I talked about for each tier.
Right. Yeah.
The one that I always suggest for people is the $197 because it comes with those workflows. It comes with the social planner. The $97 a month is going to be the text, the email, the phone call. But the real stuff you want is on the next tier plan. And then the creme de la creme is that $297 plan, right? But where Go High Level lacks is support.
Oh, okay.
Okay. They're such a large company. They hire people from overseas, and then you have to pay an additional $297 to get priority support. So when you get your CRM, it's almost daunting. It's like, what is going on here? This is Matthew told me this thing was great, but like kind of like it's like if Heather just opened this thing up and had no idea where to start.
Right.
It's like before this room was here, it's going, Heather, here's what we want the room to look like. You got it, and here's all the boxes.
Right.
She'd be like, I don't know what to do. But then you pay, again, for priority support to help you done for you, right? But it's people that don't have the best English. Yeah. And I've dealt with them. So a lot of those things I had to figure out myself. And I got better at it and better and better at it. Well, now I use the same CRM. That's what I'm doing, is I'm doing a podcast, but I'm doing what's called a software as a service. Okay. So I get to resell Go High Level because I pay a higher amount than $297, and even higher amount than that. And what we do is we get people the exact same CRM for $97, $197, or $297.
Right.
But the difference is they get us.
Oh yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
And then
makes sense.
I have a team that, one, as soon as you get it, will onboard you immediately and kind of walk you through the integration period, the crappy part. And then and I tell my team, again, we want to have that private jet experience. Whereas, and it's a 30-day free trial instead of a 14-day free trial.
Oh, okay.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
And so, like, if you got it, right, I'd be like, okay, team, he wants a CRM, let's get it to him. But how quickly can I make you more than $197? How quickly can I get you 15 Google reviews? How quickly can I get you, 300 Google reviews? How quickly can I show you how to set up your CRM? How quickly can I show you how to get your social media inside of there? How quickly can I get you to start running ads? How quickly can I get you to learn to every time that you go to a Port City Young Professionals or a Million Cups where you do the same thing that we always do. Maybe you're like me. I have the business cards and you give them out, but then you come home and you've got like 30, right? Yeah. And then you forget about them, and then your wife washes them, and then they're all crumbled up and nasty, and you didn't do anything with them. Yep. Or you put them on the side, and then you forget about them, and then you don't follow up. How quickly can I teach you that as soon as you get that information, you put it inside of your CRM and follow up with that person immediately? Right. And then you can drip on them for years until they buy, die, or don't qualify.
Sure, yeah.
You know what I mean? Do you want to be on the podcast? Do you want to be on the podcast? Do you want to be on the podcast? Eventually, people either opt out,
right,
or they'll say, you know what, I will do a podcast. But then you can run small promotions, just going, hey, one day only, we're going to do a free podcast for anybody that we're going to do one random free podcast done for you.
Yeah.
We want to show people how to do a podcast. We're going to document the whole thing. If you want to be one lucky winner, give us your information here. What's your podcast idea? You're going to have a ton of people that sign up of their podcast ideas. So then you can choose a random winner, do the free podcast. It won't cost you hardly anything, right? It's just your time.
Exactly.
But then you have 99 other people who kind of want to do a podcast.
Good point. Yeah.
And then you can follow up with them on the CRM over and over and over. How quickly can I get you to do that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
And what I try to tell the team, myself included, is that a lot of people tell me they want me to teach them how to do these things. They're like, oh, that sounds great. I want to do that thing. And I'm like, okay, let's sign you up for the CRM. They get signed up for the CRM, and then my team comes in and is like, you need to do this, this, and this. And they go, it's a lot of work. I'm like, I know.
Right.
You want to grow, or do you want to kind of just chill?
Yeah.
But which one do you want to do? Because I know how to grow. I know how to do this stuff. I'm going to push you.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to be pushed, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather sometimes take somebody off of the CRM if they're not willing to take direction.
Yeah. Makes a lot of
You know
sense.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's kind of a weird backwards model that I'd cut off clients because we're not profitable at all right now. I'm spending more money than I'm making. But I'm having the time of my life, and I get it's so much fun, like teaching other business owners the stuff that I have learned over years.
Right.
It's so much fun. So like, if you want to do it, I'll teach you all the stuff I know how to do. I can't say that I have 40 hours a week to work with you to help grow your podcast.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna give you things to do, and I hope that you do them.
Yeah. That's a great way to go about it. That's fantastic.
So anyways, I would love to teach you those things. The first thing I would implore you to do is answerthepublic.com.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that. I didn't even know that existed. That's extremely smart first step.
Yeah, it's and then on the CRM you can do a blog.
Oh, okay.
So you can write a blog about podcasting for Wilmington.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
And then it would get shared out, and you could share it out on social medias and all that other stuff. I don't know. I have tons of, whenever I get around a new business, I'm like, how do I help them market? And I just want to come up with all these ideas for you.
Yeah. So with that being said, with the blogs, because obviously that's something that you're telling other people to do as well. Mm-hmm. If they're already doing a podcast, something else that we can offer and teach them how to do as well. So depending, again, time or money, right?
Yeah.
Is we can turn your podcast almost instantly into a blog. Mm-hmm. Mm. And so it makes it super easy, seamless. You do something one time, take everything that you said, throw it into blog form, and you're ready to go. Just a small few edits of making sure the AI read it, read it properly.
Yeah, because if you're Southern like me, the S's come out a little bit weird, or I have a missing tooth, so the S's sound a little bit different than some things. So I think we had one that Cody did, and I said one, but it said whoop whoop. And I was like, whatever, I'll just post that. I don't care. Yeah. But yeah, just, taking the content, making it into a blog. Mm-hmm. We call it zhuzhing it.
Okay. Yeah.
You don't want to completely lean in AI. You want to do do the heavy lifting, and then you come back in and then make it a little bit better.
Yep.
And then what I was teaching somebody last night is inside of your blog, you want to have hyperlinks to other blogs that you've posted, and that's how you get. So that's Google SEO, kind of what I'm talking about, Answer the Public. It's how long can you keep somebody in the cycle of your website
and
your blog. Make sense?
Yeah.
Because they're going from one blog to another blog to another blog, but it's all yours. And so Google, what it does is it essentially is spider webbing down into your whole website. And so if you have 4 parts of your website, but it doesn't go anywhere, but if it says podcast, you're going to need podcast equipment. You wrote a blog about podcast equipment. Here are the 5 things that you need to start a podcast. You need a roadcaster. You need mics. You need headsets. You need software. You need this. What are the best, mics? What are the best mics? Here are the top 5 mics that we suggest. So it's like another blog. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But what Google will see is that you have multiple pages. And so when someone types in podcast Wilmington plus your Google reviews, it's going to be you every single time.
That's a good idea.
But you just, again, it takes a little bit of time and effort to get that. But what you're saying is if you're already doing the podcast, let AI do the majority of the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
You just have to talk about, and like Cody says, just post more content. Just get on video.
Right.
Be prepared to get on video. Be prepared to get on the mic and talk about what you know how to do.
Yeah.
That's super. What AI do you use? Like, you use ChatGPT or using something inside of an Adobe software?
So where again, since this is one of the things that we kind of
Sure.
it's very important to us. So it's not, I don't want to call it a side gig
Sure.
by any means, but we're trying to leverage our time as best as possible.
Yeah,
so we
yeah.
actually use, it's called Descript.
Yeah.
And so inside Descript, they actually just introduced a new AI feature.
Cool.
And so you can go through, do that. I do use a little bit of ChatGPT. There's other fantastic AI things out there as well. So like if you don't like the way that Descript formats it for you,
Yeah.
I could probably tell you 5 other ones. So that could be a great blog right there.
Yeah.
5 different AI.
If you don't write a blog by the time we get done,
Right.
if I see you next time, I'm going to be really mad at you. I use ChatGPT. So like what I do with ChatGPT, since we're talking AI a little bit, I love AI, is I think most people are worried about what ChatGPT is going to do for, it's a lot of older, I want to say senior citizen, but they're a little bit worried about AI is going to take over. And what I try to teach people is it's learning how to prompt ChatGPT.
Exactly. Yep.
I don't go write essay on goat because it's going to write the most basic essay.
Yeah.
But I'm going, okay, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I know about goats, and I'm going to talk in the way that I talk. So I just kind of type just like I'm talking. Whatever's coming out, it just free flows onto the page. My prompt will be like this long.
Oh yeah, same.
And I'm going to go, I want you to learn to type the way that I type. I want you to don't be perfect in your grammar. I don't want you to be perfect in this. I want you to sound just like I sound, but then I want you to type about this. So I kind of use ChatGPT as like a journal or a blog.
Yeah.
And then it writes it. And then I have one long script of ChatGPT because it's learned who I was over time.
Yep.
And so I always go back to that, and it knows kind of how I think. And so then my prompts get to get shorter and shorter. I still keep them pretty long. And I'm like, hey, continuing back on what we did 3 weeks ago, let's talk about this. And it'll bring it all up. It's crazy what you can get out of ChatGPT.
Oh yeah, I do have ChatGPT myself, and the same thing too. When it first came out, there was a few webinars I was invited to be a part of, and they were calling them, I guess they're calling them AI engineers. So basically, you have to walk into it with an engineer's mindset.
Yes.
Of how am I going to break this down, and how am I going to get the output that I'm hoping to get.
Correct.
So that was really neat. And one of my favorite quotes, since we're talking about it, is AI isn't going to take your job, but someone using AI will.
Say that again.
AI isn't going to take your job, but someone using AI will.
You didn't mark these, so I hope this is the right one. It could have been this one, just so everybody's aware.
I know it's a 50-50 shot.
You gotta mark these things for you to make it work. I'm just having fun with this thing. What's this one? That would have been good, but this one, good quote. AI will not take your job, folks. Someone using AI will take your job if you don't pay attention, if you don't learn about it. I try to teach people, lean into technology. Don't be scared of it.
Exactly.
Like, don't be scared of AI. Be scared of what could happen if you're not going to try to use AI.
Right.
And that's a great quote. We're going to put that on screen somewhere. Ryan, if you're watching this, hello, sir. Put that on camera. Heather either loves it when I do kind of fourth wall stuff when I talk to the camera, because it's funny to watch her watch me podcast.
I do the same thing with ours too. So like Chris, if I say something, or if the guest says something, Chris or myself will look at the camera just so we know.
Yeah.
Hey, make sure that's a clip.
Yeah.
Go make sure that you put a GIF of a goat on top of that.
Yeah, exactly. And the cool thing about podcasting that I would, if anybody's watching this that might want to use for the podcast, is like, you can't mess up while podcasting.
Yeah.
You think that you're messing up, but there's power in editing.
Mm-hmm.
You can make it look like whatever I said earlier was never even a thing.
Right.
It's like the cuts are so good, it's crazy.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. I had a guest one time we brought on, and we jumped all over the map. So anyone listening to it, they would have been like, "What in the actual hell are you doing over here?" But editing was so good, everything she said was great, but it just wasn't in the right order. So I just went boom, 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 boom.
Right.
Changed it around, put it out there, and it made a perfect, nice flow, and it was seamless. No one ever knew any different.
Exactly. And I bet she was like, "What in the world?
Yeah, she was like, we didn't talk about that in that order.
Yeah, well, that's the power of editing, right?
Yeah.
And plus, like, there's also power in editing with cuts.
Yeah.
Like, if you do a podcast and it's a video podcast and it's the same exact shot for 45 minutes, if something's not moving on the thing, it's a little bit weird. So that's why I like to have two. So whenever I'm talking, it cuts to me. When you're talking, it cuts to me. And then when we're laughing, it shoots that where me and you are both laughing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I enjoy doing, 1, 2, 3 cameras so we can get all 3 angles.
Oh, yeah.
But if you just have one podcast that's just one stagnant angle the whole time, and you're not zooming in on the person that's talking, the viewer gets a little distracted and they're just kind of like, okay, they're not moving, they're just talking. Why am I even watching the video?
Yeah.
So when you do a video podcast, you have to have good editing. So small noises, small cuts, in, out, stuff like that. That makes a huge difference in podcasting that I've seen.
No, I agree. And just a pro tip for someone who's getting into the video podcasting world, if you don't have the time or money for 3 different cameras and editing that way, there's a really good way of setting up a 1 camera angle and then just editing it so it's on you when you're talking, on me when I'm talking, both when we're laughing, stuff like that too. Of course, it doesn't look as good or as professional as 3 different cameras, but it's still a really good way to keep engagement and to keep the viewers watching.
Correct.
So I agree.
Yeah, and it's plus like I knew that I wanted 2 different camera angles, so I bought 2 different cameras.
Right.
But also that camera that we're using it's a 4K camera, so it can zoom in, and that's the important part is buying the right camera equipment up front, not getting the cheapest one. It's a little bit of a bite, right? But getting a good camera with a good lens, almost a better lens, is almost
that's more important.
Than that, like a DSLR camera or something. I can't remember the words, stuff like that. But getting those cameras, that's why I relied so heavily on Ryan. I was like, I need to make sure that I know what I want. But if we didn't get 2 cameras today, we have 1 camera, and I know of how we set it up that it can zoom, or it can do all those things. The resolution is super important when you're buying your camera. And then what kind of mics would you suggest if someone, would this be the one? What would be like, real quick, someone's making their podcast, 2 people, what do they need? Rapid fire, go. See how good you are.
For 2 people, they actually just came out with a new Rodecaster. So it's a smaller version of what this is. It's 2 inputs instead of 4. So I would get the smaller version of the Rodecaster. Of course, if you're looking for the best bang for your buck, go for the Rodecasters that we're using right here, the Rode mics, and they go straight into the Rodecaster. There's literally a button on the Rodecaster. You say, I'm using the Rode mic, and it formats it all for you. You don't have to go through all of the extra editing process on the back end if you know how to set it up right on the front end.
Got it.
Yeah.
And that's it. Headphones?
Headphones, I'm a big fan of the Technoticas, so I like these guys.
Yeah. Well, the important part is using headphones. Kind of like when we talked about in the front of the podcast. It's like there's two reasons I think headphones are so important. And it was actually Joe Rogan was talking to Mr. Beast. And he said, and Mr. Beast was like, why do we put on headphones? He's like, because people have a tendency to talk over other people. And when you hear yourself slightly in a podcast, you realize if you're talking over somebody. So it keeps everybody on the same level. And Jimmy was like, oh, it's like really smart. And then I started saying that, and my friend was like, did you just quote Joe Rogan from Mr. Beast? And I'm like, yeah. But it's good information.
It is. That's the main reason why we got the headphones, to be honest with you. So I've been listening to Joe Rogan almost as long as he's been podcasting.
Right.
And he's mentioned it a zillion times. He was like, you must wear headphones when you come on here. There's a few exceptions for some people are like, I'm just not doing it.
Right.
But he convinces the overwhelming majority of people to put headphones on because, one, exactly what you said, you're least likely to talk over someone. And also, we talked about it before, too. When you start looking away from the microphone, you realize you're not talking into it.
This is totally different sounding than when I go over the mic.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? But also, what it does, and I kind of view it like I am, what's the guy before Iron Man? What's the guy's name? Tony Stark.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Tony Stark, right? But this is Tony Stark. But when I go like this, he puts on the mask, and whenever he puts on the mask, that's Iron Man. It's a different person.
Absolutely.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
And so like I'm always the same dude, but like when I put on the mask or when I put on the headphones, I go into a different mode. I'm driving the conversation. I want to wait. Like I know how to get the information out. I know how to drive the information to highlight somebody. And the point of the podcast is to highlight other people.
Right.
It's not about highlighting myself. It's about highlighting you and how awesome you are.
I appreciate it.
You know what I mean? Like I want to tell people about your service. I want to tell people about who you are and what you do and why you do it. Like that's the point of the podcast. So many business owners take so long trying to figure out how to market their business. So I want to help them market their business on the front end and teach them how to tell their story.
Right.
Because if you just tell people why you started your podcast because you want to teach other people how to start their podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to learn how to do my podcast. Why would I want to do it with that guy who wants to teach me? You know, I'll pay him a little bit until I get on my feet. Or guess what? The service is so good, I'm just going to do that forever.
Right.
You know what I mean? All I have to do is go into his studio and pay $35 an hour. Was it $35 an hour? Sorry, I'm going to miss
audio,
It's $6,000 an hour, everybody.
Right. I'll also accept that.
Yeah, I'm paying $6,000 an hour to be here today. So $12,000 for the podcast. I'm just kidding, everybody. It's like $35 an hour. And then real quick on your prices, $35 an hour. More if you want a little bit more. Like how much more is it if you want to use camera equipment?
Camera is an additional, it's almost another 35.
Sure.
It depends on what type of cameras that you want to use or how you want to set it up a little bit. But yeah, generally it's around like 55 to 75, depending on what you want to do.
Yep.
Editing is usually for audio, $1 a minute raw, $2 a minute video. Again, raw video.
So it'd be total of $3 a minute, or it'd be if you did two, you'd get one and one, audio and video. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. So if you did video, it's basically an
like
extra
$2 for
$1.
$1. Got extra $1. Okay, so
yeah.
you get both for one. Not, oh, by the way, it's going to be $1 plus $2. It's $3. It's you get.
Oh,
two.
sorry.
Sorry.
Video for full length is $5 a minute.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I understand.
Right. Yeah. So for video editing, it's $5 a minute. For audio editing, it's $1 a minute.
Got it.
So yeah, but you get the audio within the $5.
Got it.
Yeah. If you're doing something really short, then it's only like $2 or $3. But for something like this, it's $5.
Got it. Makes all sense in the world. Do you have a website that people can go to?
Yeah, it's cargodistrictstudios.com.
Perfect. Does it have your pricing on there?
It so the way that they have it on the website right now is actually through packages.
Got it.
The reason why we do that is we know if you get past the first 7 episodes, you're going to be significantly more successful and you're going to stick with it. So we don't really like to say like, oh yeah, come in here for a podcast. You're going to pay $2, like 2 hours, $70. And then like, oh wow, that was a lot of work. I'm not ever doing it again.
That makes sense.
So we want to get you into a package where you're doing it with us for a month to 3 months, ideally. So you have the runway to get up and going and get past that first hurdle of the 7 podcasts.
Got it. And that way it's like, for lack of better words, you're more forced to do it because you're kind of you're kind of pot committed into doing it.
Exactly. Yeah, we see it way too many times where people do 3-4 episodes and they're like, well, I'm not getting the traction. Yeah, because you did 3 or 4 episodes.
Right.
And as soon as you get past that 7, you start to see a little bit more traction. You see a little bit more people than just your friends and family listening to it. People are talking about it a little bit more. And then once you hit 20, 40, 100 episodes, then you really start seeing that hockey stick.
Yep. Yeah. And I was trying to tell someone, I can't remember the exact statistic, but it's like if you do 18 podcasts, that's it. You're in the top 10% of all podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
If you do 18 podcasts total, you're in the top 10% of all podcasts in the world because most people don't stick around long enough to figure it out.
Exactly. So that's another thing that people always ask too. So I'm glad you bring this up. One of the main things that everyone says as an objection when I talk to them about podcasts, isn't the market oversaturated? With what you said there, it's clearly not oversaturated. As long as you put 18 episodes out, you're in the top 10% of all the podcasts that exist in the world. It's easily not oversaturated.
Yeah, and people, again, try to explain this. Whatever you're a resident expert on, you can do a podcast on because there are other people that are just as nerdy about Dota 2 that I am. I have 6,000 hours on a game called Dota 2. And like, no one even knows what it is. No one in this room knows what it is. I'm a huge nerd. I played it last night until like 12 o'clock. I was so tired this morning.
Yeah.
But like, I love playing with my friends. Like, I go home and like, I'll always remember this experience. I sit at sometimes these huge dinners with like steaks and shrimp and all this stuff.
Yep.
And they're always talking about like football and just all this other stuff. And it's like 10 to 15 people. And there's like this lull in this conversation. And I'm like, so on Dota 2, like I play Treant Protector, and like the way I play Treant Protector is like I max out the Q to do the roots because it slows an extra 10% versus using the Nature's Guise. Because like Nature Guise level 1, because of the 7.35B nerf, really what that means is I don't get the extra healing. So I have to buy extra tangos, and like I don't like buying tangos to sustain in lane. I'd rather use Leech Seed and get more mana pots. The mana pots cost 50 versus the tangos cost 90. Being inside the lane for longer on the first 6 minutes of the game is going to be a huge propensity because I can start to stack and do all that stuff. And that's what it feels like when you guys are talking about sports, because I have no idea. But like, and they're all going to be like, what is this dude saying, right? And like, but to somebody that's watching this podcast that knows Dota,
Oh yeah,
knows exactly what I just said. And if I'm the only person doing a podcast on Dota 2, I might have 2,000, 5,000 listeners for that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. With that being said, too, if there's anyone listening right now that knows anything about Dana White and his new venture of Power Slap,
Oh, dude.
if someone wants to start a podcast, I will 100% help you do it. I'll help you start it for free because I think that would take off. I just don't have the time to do it myself. If you can start a podcast on Power Slap right now before it really takes off in the social media realm, and especially if you do it like a really short version of it, 15 minutes, and then just get some really good clips to put on TikTok.
Yeah, you just watch the clips of someone getting slapped and then talk about the slap and all that stuff.
Yeah,
like, yeah.
You would absolutely kill it right now.
We could do it right now.
Right,
We could
yeah.
do it right now. I don't even know
Pull
what
up
it
the
is.
screen.
I don't even know what it is, but I'd watch it, and I actually don't want to watch people get slapped. But like, again, you like whiskey. Whiskey's in the back, right? It's you whatever your thing is in the world that you're good at, that you've been like, you're like, no one else talks about this. Other people, there's how many billions of people in the world?
Oh, yeah.
People talk about it. People know what's going on. You're not alone.
Yep.
And podcasting is a way for you to not be alone. Sometimes it feels like you're just the only person because you might be talking to nobody. It's better if you have a co-host because you can kind of bounce ideas off her. But the hardest thing, what I didn't want to do is do a podcast alone because I like talking to people.
Yeah.
But it can feel like you're talking into nothingness sometimes, or like you're getting no views. But there's always that one thing. There's a compound effect book that I read. And it's like one thing could absolutely quadruple or double your business overnight.
Yeah.
It's crazy, the compounding effect. Like, and it's happened so much with Murray Marketing in the last 2 months. Like, I've been talking to my team. I'm like, it's like, I don't know if I told you this. My car got broken into
Oh, no way.
over Christmas break. Okay. I had all of my podcast equipment in it. I have the new Rodecaster 2 Pro or whatever it is. It's not cheap.
Not at all.
And I had it inside of a suitcase that was locked with camera equipment in it, like lenses, like big lenses.
Yeah.
And I had the I had the Shure mics, like $500 mics in my car. Someone broke into my car because I had it unlocked because I'm stupid. Okay. They saw the bag. They took the bag. They saw it was locked. The combination was 000. They tried to change it to open it. Okay.
The car was already unlocked.
It's already unlocked. Like, this guy's an idiot. They cut it open with a blade or something.
Yeah.
Ripped it open, realized they didn't know what was in there. They didn't know it was like $2,000 worth of stuff.
Yeah.
And then they threw it on the side of the road. I walk every morning from 5:30 to 7. I was walking back with my friend, and that suitcase was on the ground, upside down, 50 yards from my house, from my apartment. And I went, "Is that a suitcase?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "I think it's my suitcase." He's like, "What?" And I was like, "I'm pretty sure it's this is at 7 o'clock in the morning, the morning after it got broken into. If I didn't walk, I wouldn't have found my own suitcase with my stuff in there. My car wasn't actually broken into. They just opened it up. Everything was there." Can you think about the statistical anomaly of that, like me finding my own thing that was stolen? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I was telling my team, I was like, I don't know what that means, but like we're a faith-based organization. I was like, that's God telling me, like, slap me in the face, but like, bro, you got to go do your podcast thing.
Yeah.
Like, and I sat with them on Tuesday, and it was like, guys, this happened to me. I'm listening to God. We got to do a podcast on Saturday.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay. And I was like, let's message Tyler. And then he was like, Cody's like, let's do one with Tyler. I was like, Tyler, we want to do you on a podcast.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, cool. It's crazy.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy. Like, whatever is going on in your life, maybe I'm talking to everybody here. Whatever's going on in your life where you feel like you're alone, you're not.
Right.
You can talk to other people. Girls with Doe Tammy said it's okay to not be okay.
Mm-hmm.
We're all going through something, and it's better to talk to somebody about it because more people relate than you realize.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And like, someone has gone through what you're going through, maybe not to the exact degree. Like I'm probably the only person that was walking and found their own podcast equipment. Like I'm the only person that's probably ever happened to, right? But someone has tried starting a podcast. Mm-hmm. Someone has tried opening up a business and they failed. And they're going to tell you why they failed and what they would have done to fix it. Well, now you just know how to not fail. Yeah. It's literally free information. And just talking to people about whatever you're passionate about and putting it on a podcast and using Buzzsprout or using someone like you who's going to teach you how to do those things is indefinitely better than trying to go about it alone.
Oh yeah.
So, he's given us the 5 minutes, but that's really the end of the podcast anyways. That's what I was just trying to wrap up, is just trying to tell everybody, like, use someone like Tyler and Cargo District, podcast studios. Is that recording studios? Podcast studios? Sorry.
Yeah, Cargo District Studios.
Yeah, Cargo District Studios. Like, use someone like Tyler that knows what he's doing and will teach you how to collapse your time frames and take it from like what would take you 6 months or a year to figure out. You could probably get someone doing it in like a month.
Oh yeah.
Like, thank you for being here, Tyler. Thank you for having this. Thank you for allowing my team to come in here. Thank you for allowing me to give you tips and take it as constructive criticism and not going like, I know exactly what I'm doing, because we all don't. We all need a little bit of help.
Yep.
Like, so thank you for everything.
Yeah, thank you. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah,
and
man.
Kind of building off of everything you just said before we completely wrap up, and a small plug for ourselves too.
Sure.
So Cargo District Studios is actually hosting a free virtual summit on January 23rd, 24th, 25th.
Okay.
So if you go to Cargo, it's eventually going to be on the Cargo District Studios, but if you go to any of our Instagram social media, it'll all be up there by the time this podcast comes out. And you can go on there. There's going to be 18 different videos of different people around the community talking about how they built their community.
Got it.
So if you want to learn about how to build your community, listen to that free summit. And everyone did all of their videos in here, of course.
Awesome.
And got to use the equipment. So you kind of get to see about how different people used it and everything to talk about how they built their communities. And hopefully you can sign up and build your own community. And hopefully that means using the studio.
And how much was it? How much is it?
Free
99.
Yep. If you want to get the upgraded VIP pass, it's $17. So
nice.
It's still very, very affordable.
What does VIP get you?
VIP. So the videos are only up for 3 days.
Got it.
So VIP is going to get you unlimited access to the videos. We're going to create a podcast of everything that we did, and you get a workbook of all of the top tips and extra notes that we added to it. There's an extra little spin that we're going to add to the end of it, but we haven't released what that's going to be yet.
Got it. You need to run that on an ad and run it over Wilmington.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
You should do that.
We'll talk about that.
Free, sign up, right? Get the information. And then once they sign up, using the CRM to go, if you want the VIP, they're only up for 3 days. You want the VIP to unlimited access and all the other stuff you just said, $17.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to do that. All right. Bye.